County manager of the National Weather Service, we've been very crystal clear. This is a potential historic event with catastrophic, deadly consequences. This is not a maybe. This is on track to happen. Okay.
In September, Americans on the East Coast braced themselves for what meteorologists said could be one of the most powerful storms to make landfall in decades. Florida was likely to see the most devastation, as it was the first place Hurricane Helene would make landfall. On the evening of September 26th, the storm hit Florida's west coast as a Category 4. It ripped through Cedar Key, Tampa, and Fort Myers, leaving all areas with severe flooding. But little did everybody know the worst was yet to come hundreds of miles to the north in America's Appalachian Mountains. Helene became a Category 2 storm as it moved north, and then a tropical storm as it reached eastern Tennessee and western North Carolina on September 27th. However, this is when the storm unleashed record rainfall, over 30 inches in some areas, wreaking havoc on small Appalachian towns. The torrents wiped out roads, power, and many homes, and ultimately claimed the lives of over 100 people. Why such devastation? Most people think mountains protect from natural disasters, and they do, but the mountains are what made this storm so deadly. With the ground saturated from previous rain, the rainfall had nowhere to go but downhill, collecting in the typically smaller streams and rivers. The estimated 40 trillion gallons of water in North Carolina quickly overwhelmed the natural flows, creating once in 500-year flood events, wiping anything in its path away with up to 1 million gallons per minute. As the flooding was still raging, local heroes and government officials sprang into action, initially rescuing people and aiding in search and recovery. Once the waters receded, restoring access to the mountain communities was the next priority, with many crews removing downed trees and power lines from roadways. But what happens when the military and news crews are gone in the months after such a disaster? That's when hundreds of contractors and thousands of hardworking people spend years rebuilding and restoring critical infrastructure and, eventually, people's homes. This leads us to our visit with Branch Civil, a contractor headquartered in Virginia but with a local presence in Burnsville, North Carolina, one of the hardest hit areas. Since they live in these communities, it's more than personal, and they've worked tirelessly to clear and rebuild the area's roadways since the storm hit. With the background sorted, let's get to our recent visit. We started the morning at Branch's office, where we met the team and sat down for a briefing on how the weeks following the storm unfolded. After hearing the stories of the devastation from the Branch team who faced it firsthand, we headed into the mountains to see it ourselves.
We're heading to the first site.
Heading to the first site. It's 8:43. Almost 9 o'clock. Time to go to work. Holy smokes. So this whole thing was this whole valley was full of water. The further we drove, the worse it became, with endless downed trees, debris, and missing homes. We were shocked at how high the water had been. About 30 minutes later, we finally arrived where the Branch team was restoring the badly washed out road that follows the river. And before we show you what's happening now, here's what the area looked like when they began. We're getting close to where they're working now. The roads have completely gone. That was the road over there. You can see some of the yellow striped pavement laying in the river. And since the road's gone over there, they've built a temporary road over here. But we're supposed to be on that side. That is not something you see every day. All right, we just drove from the office up to the main work area from Burnsville. The devastation was no joke. Today's not the everyday fun video. It's important, but not exactly fun like our usual work is. This is the site of the Helene aftermath, and we are going to show you the work going on to rebuild this entire community.
So where we've got all this aggregate, this big rock that's come down the river, they're hauling it back up above where we are right here and basically buttressing the roads back, as you can see all the way through here.
Yeah.
So this water, you can see the levels it got up to. I mean, in certain places it's 30 foot over river height, 30, 35 foot. And so when that force of water come down, just washed all of this stuff down. So you're literally just coming down, reclaiming everything, taking it back up and building these road bases back up to where, you know, we can get back into more of a permanent roadway system.
So you're building up the roads that have washed out with the washed out material from essentially the bottom of the riverbed here.
That's correct. So you just, you know, when this flood took place from Helene, you just had so much force coming down through this area of what we call Cane River on 19. And so all of that stuff just kind of got makeshift stockpiles, right? So those areas where you can go back and reclaim that natural stone is what we're taking back up the river. In certain areas we don't have as much, and they've actually had to import shot rock from the mining operations around here. But in scenarios like this, we have the natural stone that's just got washed down and we're able to put back in place.
And that's how I was assuming you guys were doing it, was importing material to just fill in the holes, but I didn't even consider, well, there's a ton of material sitting right down in here.
Yeah, and as you see when we made the trip down from the office, you've got so much exposed rock now that usually you couldn't see because of the overgrowth from off the rivers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took, I mean, just took so much force to move all this, which is, I tell you, out of all the things that's been amazing to me is when, as a kid growing up here, you can see how different things are. The devastation of seeing people lose homes and property. I mean, we've got a bridge right here that goes over to this house, a private bridge. You can see the indent, and it's just taking it out. And so with all that material, with these trees that you see in a lot of areas that just kind of stacked up and piled up, all that force just brought it down. So in most areas, you know, you're talking about, like this is what, maybe not quite a quarter of a mile, but I mean, it could be a quarter mile, half a mile. You're taking this, if you will, this earth back up to build these roads back.
It's amazing.
And, you know, what's interesting is you got your off-road trucks that are running in these areas, and you're having to makeshift, you know, low water type bridges, if you will. But that aspect of it, to be able to do that actually has expedited a lot of the build back of the roads too.
I got you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But we got so much, it depends, right? But most of this, like you can see up there, how much rock is in these old mountains.
Oh, you're moving a lot of material here.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good, I mean, that 349's doing its thing. You know, you do a lot of mining operation looks, I know. And so a lot of times in these tight areas on the projects themselves, you may not see something that size, maybe like a 330 or something like that. But yeah, when we're able to get down here and kind of have an open space in rivers of all places,
Awesome. We're downriver from the first excavator we saw. Here's another one. It's a 336. He is digging in the river channel there to pile up that material, and that 349 from up there will eventually work its way down here, load all of this material into haul trucks, and pull that material out to build up these shoulders all the way down the road. Just one note, you typically wouldn't see a machine working in a stream like this in a river, but this is emergency work. They have to get this river back to its existing condition, and they have to get that material out to build these roads up to restore that access to this entire area. This is the hardest hit area in the entirety of North Carolina by Helene. So they have to get in there, make this happen. Once they get all this out, they'll obviously get the equipment out of the water, and they won't touch that water again. They'll just be working up here on this road. This is the road. That is one lane. Where I'm standing on is the other, but the storm, the water coming through here, essentially ripped this other lane out and tossed it down river. So they are coming through and still restoring access. It's December, the storm was in September, and here they are still building temporary access. This is not the permanent fix. This is just temporary to get people back and forth through this area so they can continue cleaning up their homes. Those articulated trucks we saw getting loaded just upriver by that 349 are hauling down here. They're dumping in front of the D6. The D6 is working that material that way to then build this shoulder out to establish two-lane traffic, two-lane access, and then they'll come back maybe 6 months from now, a year from now, and start working on those more permanent fixes. Center line of what used to be the road. That's the other lane right there. As mentioned, this is emergency work. This is temporary. There's no compaction testing. There's no specialty aggregate. We're just dumping these boulders in here from the A45s that are dumping in front of the D6. The D6 is working that material into here just to get it back up to grade. The grade then will get covered with this crushed rock, and that'll be good enough for the foreseeable future. This is a much better way to do it because the amount of rock needed, soil needed for importing to build this back up is absolutely immense. And the quarries around here just don't have the capacity. So it's much more efficient to pull the material from the river. You're restoring the natural flow of the river. You're using that material. You're keeping trucks off the roads as much as possible. It's a win-win-win to get this community back up and running.
Are we going now?
Yeah, you can go whenever you want, yeah.
So pretty much when we came in here, all this right here over to edge of about where we're standing was a sheer drop off all the way down to where the river is now. We started in here just going in, taking the material out of the river as you've seen before, and we just start bringing it up to the top, dumping, building the shoulder back out, building this section of road back.
So, you've done that all the way around?
We've done this all the way around.
Yeah, you can see it all the way around there.
Yep.
So when you come in and build this permanently, then what do you do?
Well, that'll go back to the engineers as to if they want to come in, dig this down. They may leave what's here.
Yeah.
They may dig down 3, 4, 5 feet.
Okay.
Put in a BX 1100 tensar grid, come back with subgrade stabilization stone, and then try to bridge over top of that with a section.
I
Or
gotcha.
they may come in and say, this section is not stable enough, so we need to come in and do some rock bolting, or may even do some pile panel walls in sections.
But because the river, it curves around here, so you had all this force just land into this
Correct.
road essentially.
And it just kept scouring.
And just undermining that, and then it just fell in on.
Correct.
Wow.
So the section we came through a while ago where you literally seen off the edge, that's the way all of this was, all the way around.
That's amazing. So that's a lot of material you brought back in here to build this back up.
Absolutely.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, we were figuring a while ago, and we thought just off our load counts, we're probably getting close to 500,000 tons of material that's moved.
Holy smokes. Excellent. Perfect. All right, we're about to head back to Tennessee, but before we do, wanted to thank Branch Civil for having us out. Thank the first responders, the military that was in here, the community members, the contractors like Branch and all the others here making it happen, bringing this community back to where it should be. They're gonna be here for years, bringing this place back up to where it was before the storms. So really appreciate you watching. And if you want to contribute, help the people in this community out, there's a fundraiser linked below. With that, we'll see you next time. Stay dirty.